experience.
Sometimes coincidence happens. Sometimes two different people might do something similar. But when that same coincidence keeps happening again and again, it stops being coincidence. It raises a question: is someone, somewhere, behind it? Because real coincidences don't follow a routine. Patterns do.
Crime, at its core, is a human act. And those who commit it, whether individuals or organized syndicates, often leave behind a traceable signature. Investigators across the globe, from the FBI and CIA in the US to Interpol and Kenya's own DCI, have long observed one consistent truth: every criminal has a method. Whether it's the weapon used, a rope, a knife, a gun, or the specific body part targeted, the throat, stomach, head, there's always a pattern. These patterns, known in investigative circles as modus operandi, MO, help solve even the most mysterious crimes. They serve two purposes: enabling the criminal to execute their act efficiently, and helping investigators connect that act to a broader pattern or previous crimes. But here's where it gets unsettling. What if I told you this concept of modus operandi isn't just used by criminals, but also by governments? Welcome to LifeLens TV, where today we dive into one of the most disturbing mysteries in recent Kenyan memory. The disappearance and bizarre reappearance of blogger and activist Ndiangui Kinyagia. To uncover the truth, sometimes you must connect the dots that others overlook. The big question is, did Ndiangui Kinyagia truly go into hiding voluntarily, as he later claimed, spending time at his girlfriend's house fearing for his life? Or is that just the surface of a much deeper operation? Let's roll back the clock. It was Wednesday, June 25, 2025, a date that marked exactly 1 year since the explosive Gen Z protests rocked the Republic of Kenya. Protests that later earned the haunting nickname, the Bloody Parliament, as featured in a BBC documentary of the same name.
In June last year,
That day in 2024 was unforgettable. Parliament Road had become a battlefield.
for 3 hours,
Tears
more
were
than
shed,
100 gas
and history was written in blood. The 2025 protests weren't about fresh anger. They were about remembrance, honouring those who had paid the ultimate price in the fight for accountability and justice under the Kenya Kwanza regime.
more than 100,000.
Some of the fallen heroes memorialised included David Chega, a 39-year-old software engineer and Sunday school teacher, gunned down outside Parliament. Erickson Mutisia, a 25-year-old butcher, killed in the chaos on Parliament Road. Eric Shieni, a 27-year-old finance student at the University of Nairobi, shot while attempting to flee from within the Parliament precincts. These names, now etched into the nation's memory, were the very reason Gen Z planned to march again, this time in solemn tribute. Every successful protest has structure, a blueprint for movement, safety, coordination, and impact. In this case, the blueprint was prepared by none other than Ndiangui Kinyagia. While most Kenyans know him as a loud and fearless blogger, fewer realize his primary profession is software engineering, a skill set that made him perfect for organizing logistics. He was tasked with crafting a precise, hour-by-hour timeline of events for the June 25th Gen Z memorial protests. At first glance, it seemed ordinary. The gathering point in Nairobi CBD, the march to Parliament, moments of prayer and reflection. But by the time you got to the final segment of the timetable, things took a shocking turn. At 3:30 p.m., the plan allegedly escalated. March to State House, have a symbolic meal from the State House kitchen, then visit Charlene Ruto's bedroom and have a word with her. But the most chilling line came next. 5:30 p.m. Crucifixion of President William Ruto by public hanging at the State House grounds. Yes, that's what the timetable reportedly stated. The timetable was made public on June 20th, 2025. By the evening of the same day, it had spread like wildfire across social media. By the next morning, every Gen Z protester had a copy, and so did the government. The response was swift. State machinery kicked into high gear. On June 22nd, a full-blown manhunt began. Sirens blared. Plain-clothed and uniformed officers flooded the streets. The mission was clear: find Ndiangui at all costs. What followed was a chaotic series of events that still leave more questions than answers. June 22nd, 2025. The Cyber Intelligence Unit of the DCI zeroes in on the man behind a now-viral timetable, a schedule that shocked the state. Their trace leads them to an apartment in Kinu, the home of none other than software engineer and activist, Ndiangui Kinyagia. What followed was swift and ruthless. Officers, both in uniform and plainclothes, stormed the apartment. Phones, laptops, personal documents, all confiscated. But the man himself? Gone. Just like that, Ndiangui Kinyagia disappeared without a trace. Almost instantly, the digital world exploded. Hashtags like Release Ndiangui trended across X, formerly Twitter. Kenyans demanded answers.
You must stop the abductions!
In response, Amnesty Kenya and the Lawyers for Constitutional and Human Rights, LCK, filed a petition at the Milimani Law Courts demanding that the state produce Ndiangui, dead or alive. Chief Magistrate Chacha Mwita summoned both Inspector General Douglas Kanja and DCI boss Mohammed Amin to appear in court. But the state played deaf. Instead of appearing, they sent lawyers who boldly claimed they weren't holding Ndiangui. Still, Chacha Mwita stood firm. Produce Ndiangui Kinyagia. But here's where things took a dramatic twist.
And they have confirmed.
On July 3rd, 2025, 12 full days after his disappearance, Kenyans woke up to a Facebook post from lawyer Wahom Thuku. Acting on behalf of Ndiangui's family. The post read simply, Ndiangui is safe. He had gone into hiding. Allegedly, he fled out of fear after the DCI raided his home. But just hours later, almost like clockwork, Ndiangui appeared in person before Magistrate Chacha Mwita at Milimani Law Courts. Now here at LifeLens TV, we don't just take statements at face value, we connect the dots. And something about this entire episode smells off. Remember what we said in the beginning? Whether it's a criminal or a government operation, there's always a signature, a pattern, a modus operandi, the same tactics, the same behaviors. And Ndiangui's case fits that pattern like a glove. Let's break it down. First, the timing. Ndiangui resurfaced on the exact day the DCI boss Mohammed Amin and Masengeli were scheduled to appear in court. Coincidence? Not a chance. That's choreography. The state knew that once Ndiangui was found, the case would crumble, because they could now say, he wasn't abducted, he ran. But take a close look at Ndiangui's physical and emotional state that day. He looked drained, disturbed, traumatized. That is not the look of someone who spent a week relaxing at his girlfriend's house. That is the look of a man who's been through mental torture, perhaps even physical intimidation. And now, we come to the clearest sign, the one that's been a common thread in every recent state-linked abduction in Kenya. The shaving. A few months ago, 6 young critics of the government, including Bernard Kavuli, Kibet Bull, and 4 others, were all abducted. All were later released after intense public pressure. And when they came back, they were all shaved, not stylishly, not cleanly, but forcefully, brutally, as if to send a message. Now, look at Kinyagi's head. A man who had proudly kept his hair for years shows up in court with a hideous, uneven shave. Do you really believe he walked into a barbershop and asked for that? Come on, that was not a haircut. It was a statement. The forced shaving wasn't unique to Niangui. It's the same humiliation tactic used on Bernard Kavuli, Kibet Bull, and the rest. All government critics, all abducted, all returned with the same eerie cut. This isn't a coincidence. This is a pattern, a calculated stamp of intimidation. That kind of shaving is not an act of grooming. It's a mark, a silent signature of those who operate in the shadows. It tells a story without saying a word. And it's the exact same mark we've seen before. But let's ask ourselves, does it make sense that a man like Niangui, outspoken, bold and smart, would run away, leave his apartment, go into hiding, then reappear just in time to save the police from a contempt charge in court? It doesn't add up. Niangui didn't flee. He was taken. He was held. He was silenced. And when public pressure reached a boiling point, he was released with a script, a forced explanation to protect those who took him. And just like with Kavuli and Kibet, we'll probably never know where he was kept. But one thing we do know: the patterns don't lie. So, dear viewers, do you believe Niangui's story? Or do you agree with us that this was a well-coordinated operation, carefully masked as a voluntary disappearance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation alive. And remember, your voice matters. If you're new here, welcome home. Kindly hit the like button, share this video with your friends and family, and most importantly, subscribe to LifeLens TV for more hard-hitting, eye-opening, investigative content like this. Thank you so much, and as always, Shalom. Stay alert, stay informed,